Hey everyone, this is Corine Lafont, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know how we do it here on Between the Lines? We are always grateful, or I like to say thankful. I am thankful to be here. The weather here is awesome. It's rainy. The rain that keeps the place cool and nice. And I just love to, cuddle up and snuggle up under my comforter. But I can't do that right now, okay? Because as you can see, I have someone next to me, Derek Scarzella. So as soon as I'm finished with him, I'm going to be jumping in my bed with my comforter and having some fun, yeah? Keeping warm and snuggling up. So I am thankful to have Derek with me. And we're going to be talking today about, let me just make sure, his journey to publishing. I am also a publisher, so it will be interesting to find out his journey. And it's amazing how each person's journey to publishing always takes a different turn, but there are some similarities along the way. And I'm looking forward to hearing and learning more from him and the type of publishing he's in and the type of books. And a little bit later, like we do it on the show, I'm going to be featuring his website as best as I could. Technology. Let's hope that it works for us today. And we're just going to keep going. So let me tell you a bit about Derek, and then I'm going to officially welcome him, and we're going to start the discussion. So Derek works and lives in the Washington D.C. area over the course of his life. He has worked as a car salesman, where he had a car stolen from him, a security guard, where he saved a building from exploding, worked in a comic shop, a software company, and an advanced manufacturing company. During his college years, was in the band Afro Sheen Explosion. He doesn't look like somebody's band, but we'll hear more about that. A no-wave group that in and around the DC area. He went to college at the University of Maryland, where he received a degree in English and literature. He is currently the publisher of Action A Go Go, an online portal for entertainment news. He has written 2 novels, The Vicious Game and Knuckle Crack Bone. That sounds hurtful. He is currently working on a slew of new projects across different genres. Welcome, Derek, to Between the Lines.
Hello, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction.
It's great to have you. No, you have, I mean, just from the journey alone, a car salesman, comic strip, a band. How has all of that led you into publishing?
Well, it was all part of just the collection of experiences, right? When you're looking for ideas and when you're trying to write stories, having a diverse array of experiences helps you in terms of creating stories. And when you're a car salesman or a security guard or you're in a band, you're meeting all sorts of great personalities, all sorts of unique individuals, and they all have stories, right? And that just helps you create those
Yeah,
stories. And then it's of publishing and getting things out there. It's just a matter of finishing those stories and sharing them with the world.
that's awesome. And you mentioned something a while ago in terms of writing your stories and writing your books. A lot of authors, and you're an author now, have pulled from their experience. A lot of their characters come from all those different experiences. Has it helped you? Has it hurt you? Did you, tell us a little bit about that?
No, 100%. I mean, so many unique experiences. Like when you mentioned the part where I saved a building from exploding, you think it might be like the movie Die Hard or something where a bunch of people are running around and it's all crazy. It's actually really, really boring. It was my third day on the job and I walked downstairs and I saw a puddle and I didn't think anything of it except the puddle was yellow. And then the next day I did the same thing. I was still being trained, so I had some time. And that same puddle was 50 feet long and it was 5 feet away from a very large bank of electrodes or something like a transformer that was in the basement that was like a 50 feet long itself. And it had a big red sign on it that said, no water explosions. You know what I mean? And the story's great, but don't want to take up all the time with it. But yeah, that was me saving a building. It's not as exciting as it's made out in the movies sometimes, but it's still something unique. And talking to the engineers about it and the fellow security guards, a good friend of mine, Captain Tunde, who was watching over us that time. It was just a great experience, and that just feeds into my own
You're
stories
trying
that
to
you
Willis
when you
around.
dress up.
You're trying to
Yep.
give Bruce Willis a run. Willis is my favorite. I absolutely hard will always die hard every year at Christmas time. Okay, I watch all of them. Okay, so don't come to give my boy Bruce Willis a run for his money. Okay, just saying.
I don't know. He's got to defend
But
himself.
that's a
This is the real
story.
world.
Yeah. But from that experience, I mean, I don't know about saving a building from exploding or any such thing, but you just never know where you may find yourself and what you may be called to do. So tell us
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
the type of books that you're writing now. What sort of genre are you in? Why did you pick that particular genre? What is it that appeals to you about it?
Sure. Well, my first two novels are crime novels, right? And that's my chosen genre. And what I love about the crime genre and the people I looked up to as writers, people like Elmore Leonard and George Pelecanos and others, um, they were able to do something local and turn where they live into the scene of the crime, so to speak, or the area where you can get all this drama from. Like crime is great, and of course you always want to have a crime or something really dramatic at the center. But when you read as many crime novels as I have and study the genre like I have, it's really about connection and separation and conflict, and that's the core of it. And having a tear in society like a terrible crime is important, and that sort of drives things forward. But what's really important is those characters and the relationships that are formed or broken or built up. And just to pivot real
Mm-hmm.
quick to the the time I had the car stolen from me, actually, when I was a car salesman, actually did become a character in one of my books. So the perpetrator sort of became a character in one of my books.
Oh.
To tell you another way that my life has sort of informed what my art, so to speak, and in a loose interpretation, not exactly the same, but sort of the same, character that I met that one time, and he had a serious rap sheet. It was very interesting. When the police showed up and told us, like, they opened up a computer and it was just crime after crime after crime this guy was associated with and wanted for. But yeah, anyway, just a little aside there.
That's all right. It's good to listen to you. And the band, you're in an Afro band. Now tell us, how does that weave into all what you're doing? I mean, I am trying to pull from all the things in your bio to see how does the link make? What? Band,
Well, that
come on.
no, I know. Trust me, it's I'm a mystery wrapped in a enigma inside a question. So I try and figure this stuff out myself sometimes. But the band was when it was I was like right out of high school, sort of in my college years, sort of thing, or in between high school and college. And one of my close friends from high school, who had been out a little bit longer than me in the real world, was just messing with his bass, and he asked me, "Do you want to be in a band? It's called this." And it didn't have anything to do with Afrofusion. Unfortunately, it may have been even more interesting. But yeah, we were just, so I joined the band. I was the lead singer, and we were in the, I use the no wave term, like that's where we fit in, but it's really like the proto punk or punk space, with rock and roll, and I would say psychedelic rock and roll and jazz fusion sort of thing. But it was just a wonderful time in my life. Lots of alcohol, lots of other stuff. The typical group of 20-year-olds running around
Yes,
from place to place and having lots of fun.
I can.
But yeah. But again, my favorite part of that was just meeting people and getting to get on stage in front of them and scream into a microphone. There's nothing better in life.
What I picked up from reading your bio, I mean, I didn't live your life, but it seems so interesting. And I'm thinking to myself as a mother, I
Mm.
don't know if you're a parent, but
Uh,
allowing your child to be who they want to be and just allowing them the opportunity to enjoy whatever they want to do, because you don't know what each experience, what each adventure, what each journey, what each path would lead them to become or to learn or to pull from at a particular point in time. And you along those ways, somebody reading that might think, oh, that's crazy. Band, comic, this, car, salesman, exploding building, publisher. He doesn't seem to know what he's about. Clearly, he's not focused. This is the way society will see it. I want to know your interpretation of that now that you're an adult. What would you say to a young person out there listening to us, or even a parent or a caregiver, to that sort of life you lived? And if they have that type of child who's enterprising and adventurous, or they should allow to be, especially in a time like this going forward, what is some advice that you would give to live, seeing that you have lived that life? What would be some advice that you would share to a parent, a guardian, a caregiver, or even a young person?
Sure, 100%. Well, first off, I do want to say that I am a parent. I've got a beautiful little 11-year-old girl. Well, she's not little. She's actually taller than her mother now. So she's growing like a weed, thank God. She's very healthy, especially in these times. So I totally understand the question. And I can say that even throughout all my adventures, my mother was always supportive. My grandfather and grandmother, they were a huge part of my life. They tried to give me some really good direction. And I say those things, but I also had a strong family that was always there for me. And I think that's so important for anybody, even if you don't necessarily agree with 100% with what
Mm-hmm.
your children are doing. You need to remember that. And I'm seeing this now because she's on the cusp of, you know, big changes. I'll just put it mildly. I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from, but you sort of have to let them love what they love and follow what they follow, and while providing a solid bedrock. And that's one thing like my grandfather always did. He was very Italian, he was very Catholic, and even though he didn't go to church all the time, he worked on weekends and spent a lot of time in churches working because we had a family business that did weddings and whatnot. But he was always supportive of me. He was always supportive. He was always encouraging. And if he didn't
Mm-hmm.
approve of what I did, he would say so, but he wouldn't force the matter. You know, so it's a balancing act, in my opinion. I hope I'm doing a good job with my daughter. I'm trying to do the same thing where, let her explore her interests, let her explore things, but also just give her a solid bedrock to move from. And I think that's what really allowed me to find myself and find my place. And I do want to emphasize, like, throughout that process of me being in a band, I was working on my writing. And if anybody really asks what my true passion is, it is writing. So writing was always there through these different phases of my life up until now, where I was finally able to get these books out into the world and share them with the world in a way where someone can just purchase it and read it and then comment about it in the zeitgeist, so to speak. I hope that answers the question.
Nice, nice. It's
I
fun.
didn't ramble too much.
No, it's good to know that you had or have supportive parents, and I believe in raising children to be who they are meant to be. A lot of us parents tend to think we live vicariously through our children and they must follow our own path and all the things that they do, when they really should be allowed to be their own individual, their own person. And that
Mhm.
is our job as a parent, in my personal opinion and experience, is to create an environment that allows the child to be who they are, the best person that they are meant to be, not the best of what we could have been. Yeah, and that just came to me, and that sounds so powerful. I want to say that
Yeah.
again. The best that they can be, as opposed to the best that what we could have been as parents. That's really important. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's beautiful. I think that's 100% correct. And I need to do that with my own daughter sometimes. I need to sit back and remember she's not, even though sometimes she acts like a little copy of me, which is always fun, but she's something new. And every child is a new person on this earth. And while I'd love for her to follow in my footsteps, at the same time, I know she's going to have her own passions and her own feelings. For instance, right now she's really showing aptitude in terms of being able to draw. She's very good at seeing something and then copying that onto paper, or being taught how to draw.
Nice.
And that's something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to
Yeah.
paint and whatnot, but I mean, I don't have that talent in my family. I think it may have skipped a generation because my
Ah.
mother was very, yeah, my mother had that kinesthetic intelligence where she could draw and everything. But that's great, and I just try and
Mhm.
foster that. I try and push her in certain directions. Of course, she's at that age, unfortunately, now where whatever dad says isn't cool, and it's probably never going to be again until I'm in the ground. But that's that's how these things work out. But you're 100% right. Even if it's something you don't approve of, even if it's something you like, I think every parent has every right to push their children in a certain direction. I mean, they are their kids. They're your
Yeah.
responsibility until they're 18. But at the same time, recognizing that this is something new, this is what they want, it allows them to flourish, and you get the best of both worlds. You get to see them enjoy themselves, and you get to see them, you know, um, turn into something great.
Awesome. Awesome. I want to switch now to your website so we can spend some time on the
Sure.
work that you have been doing. Let me see if I can do a quick share here.
Oh boy, hope it's the good stuff I got up there.
Quick share. Yes, I'm at the right place.
Oh,
Are
perfect,
you
perfect,
seeing
perfect.
that?
I am.
Yes. So here we are. So you go ahead and give us a quick tour. What's happening here?
Absolutely. So, Action a Go Go is something I've been publishing for, I want to say officially, like as a business since 2013, but really for 10, 11 years. And it's really just imagine like a 14-year-old boy's head exploding and all the pieces ended up on a computer. It's dedicated to action movie news and reviews and tidbits. New movies and looking back at old movies. You can actually see the cover of my book there. That's an interview I had with David
Yes.
Coleman, great guy. Encourage anybody to watch that. It was a wonderful interview. But it's really just a celebration of pop culture and movie news. And throughout the tenure of Action to Go Go, like many different writers from many different backgrounds have been able to participate. And for me, it's a great thing. I get to help people express themselves. I get to help myself express myself in regards to what's going on in pop culture and entertainment. And I've actually just started producing YouTube videos. And right now, I'm narrating them, I'm editing
Nice.
them, I'm adding soundtracks. Yeah, and I think it's been a very pleasurable endeavor because I love movies so much. I finally feel like I'm making something. Um, and
Nice.
in addition, yeah. So in addition to the books
Nice.
and whatnot, or in the website, you can also go to YouTube. You can subscribe, and you're going to see more content from me
Mhm.
talking about shows I love, stuff going on in the entertainment industry, and all that stuff. But it's a great place to just explore pop culture, maybe get a little bit nostalgic about something, and just see what's there.
Awesome. So what's the plan moving forward? So we are talking today. We're in May, almost the end of May. Can you believe it? I mean, we have done what the first quarter of the year and the second quarter already. What's
Yeah.
the plan going forward for Derek Scarzella? What's coming up the rest of the year? What can we look forward to?
Well, the plan is to get better at editing and work on a film
Hmm.
voice because I hear my voice in the videos and I feel like I'm the worst part. So I'm going to try and going to work on my radio voice, but that's probably me being more self-critical than anything. But the other thing is I'm working on a new novel. It's actually a science fiction novel. I'm really excited about it. It combines some of my passions, like my passion for
Hmm.
science fiction and my passion for cars. It's basically hot rodders in the future. Um, if that tickles anybody's fancy. And I'm also working on a couple comics. One's like a sort of a horror comic, a horror adventure comic, like sort of Indiana Jones meets The Exorcist. And another one is just a really
Hmm.
crazy, sci-fi out in the universe, exploring the universe type thing. So I'm just keeping myself busy. In terms of crime, I do have like a one crime novel planned. That's sort of like an ending to my own personal trilogy, but I've got to get a bit the get the bits and pieces of that together and get it going. But it's really just continuing to execute on Action a Go Go, being a resource for people in entertainment, and just building that presence up. and helping people
Mm-hmm.
enjoy my books and getting more of those sold.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Who would you say would be your target audience to visit your website, that you would encourage to visit your website and consume your content, your books, etc.?
Well, I'm always going to say anybody. I mean, audiences are so diverse, and you never, for Action to Go in particular, you never know what's going to tickle someone's fancy. Like, you can always assume that, I don't know, young girls age or young women age 20 to 30 aren't going to be interested in explosions and whatnot, but there's always the oddball in there that'll soak it up. So I'd encourage anybody. If push comes to shove, I'd say the typical maybe males 18 to 35, that prime demographic, guy stuff sort of thing. But I've worked with
Mm-hmm.
ladies who've written for Action to Go, wonderful women who've given their takes on James Bond and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. One of them actually had the most popular article ever that got 60,000 hits one time, which was huge for us. Huge.
Wow.
But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of my books, I'm going to say the same thing. If you're into crime, if you're into if you like the bloody knuckles, so to speak, I think you're going to love my novels. But with my works, I tried to be a bit less commercial and more personal, like really make it about the
Mm-hmm.
characters and what the characters are going through, right? And I try and do something different with that setup. So I'd encourage everybody to at least read the samples on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, check them out. If anybody has any questions, they can always
Mm-hmm.
reach out to me on social media. Action to Go at Instagram, Action to Go on Twitter, or my personal Instagram, Derek Scar. You can at least check stuff out. But I love engaging with people, love talking to people, more than happy to answer questions. And I really love hearing what people think about my books. Most of the people I've talked to who've read my books, who I've been fortunate enough to meet,
Mm-hmm.
it's always been positive feedback. And that's something I don't shout from the mountaintop too much. I need to more to let people know. But I've always gotten positive feedback in regards to it,
Yeah.
and hope more people can enjoy it.
What about in terms of moving forward, having some sort of, what do they call that now? Like an internship sort of a thing for persons who would like to get into that type of writing crime stories or actually experience crime or witness it, and they would want to turn it into a book. Have you thought of offering some sort of internship where you can train persons to write their stories and probably even be part of what you're offering there?
Well, I'm not going to commit any crimes, and I'll never admit to any crimes on while being recorded. So nice try. No, no, no. In all seriousness, in all seriousness, I've always thought about teaching, like transitioning to teaching and being a creative
Mm-hmm.
writing, maybe instructor or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. In terms of internships, like we're not. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd love to offer one, but Action to Go is a small business, and I'm not sure what we could really offer an intern. We'd have to look into that. But in terms of advice for
Mm-hmm.
anybody, there's one novel I love recommending, Stephen King's book on writing. That's actually a really good book
Mm-hmm.
in regards to what it takes to be a writer and the writing process. And I'm not a big Stephen King fan. That's probably sacrilegious for some people to hear, but that's one of the few things I've read
I
by Stephen
know.
King.
I mean, I don't watch the movies.
I'm the
I
opposite. I
can't
watch
I
the
can't
movies.
handle the
Yeah,
movies.
I'm the opposite. I
I
watch the
can't handle
movies,
the
but I
movies,
can't read the
Derek.
books.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'm not doing the books and I'm not watching the movies. I cannot handle horror, anything with too much killing and stuff. Even things with too much kissing and love, I can't handle it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the
Just give me a nice balance, okay? If it's no, no, no. I like action. Things like Transformers is what will get me. I'll be screaming, shouting, all of that. Give me Transformers any day, but not the
well, I
kissy
can
kissy and the killing and the blood and the.
I can agree with you there. I love
No,
Transformers,
no,
but
and the
some
plotting.
some of that does go on in my book. So fair warning, if you want to check them out, I'm always honest. Um, But the other thing I'd recommend, which is what I did for my second novel and my first, for both novels, just talking to people. Like if you have an idea for a story and it's crime, if it's even if it's like, let's say you want to write a building about I'm sorry, excuse me, a story about a building that's on fire. Talk to engineers, talk to people, talk to architects,
Yeah,
talk to police officers if you want to write. Like police officers
that's
do this
right.
every day, and that was a big part of it. A police officer was instrumental in my second book. The first one, not so much. I got away with a lot
Mm-hmm.
with the first one because it was just about like
Mm-hmm.
petty criminals and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, it's and more serious stuff, obviously for bombacity. But
Mm-hmm.
for the second
Or even
novel,
the fire
it's
department. If we're talking, even the fire department, in terms of an exploding, what is possible, what makes sense, because you want to
exactly
make your story
exactly
believable.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. You
one
want to
time I
make your
wrote
story
a
believable.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm not sure if it was a short story or if it was the second. If it was actually about my novel that I shared with somebody, but there is a scene where some ambulance drivers are being very flippant about a person who shot in front of them, and someone told me that's not realistic. That's where you lost me. But then I went and talked to an actual ambulance drivers, and they said, "Yeah, we do that all the time. That's how we survive. That's how we get through this. We joke. Maybe we make fun of something, and again, that's not universal, right? But don't. I
Mm-hmm.
guess my point would be don't let other people cut you off for that term realistic or unrealistic. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if 2020 proved
Mm-hmm.
anything, it's that all sorts of crazy things can happen at the same time. Nothing's really out of bounds,
For sure.
right?
For
So
sure. For sure. For sure.
yeah,
For sure. If it's one thing, I mean, we can learn from 2020 and going forward. Anything is possible. Be prepared for anything. Don't be shocked. Just roll with the punches.
yes, yes,
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. And the amazing thing, Derek, is that even though we are going through this pandemic, there are some people who will forget and they're going to just go back to default
I
and
know.
feel, what is this about? What is this? Forgetting what they have been through, and this is nothing. Whatever that new thing will be, it will be nothing compared to what you've gone through. If you went through that before, why you can't go through this new thing now? Resilience,
100%.
resilience, and being able to evolve and yeah, being able to evolve and be flexible. That is what it is about, resilience.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
think
goodness, the time has
100%.
run on, Derek. But go ahead. Go
No,
ahead. I'm
I'm
listening
just
to you.
agreeing 100%. Just adaptability and resilience. Roll with the punches. You'll be fine.
That's what it is. Yeah. And as a final thought or question for you, in terms of the publishing industry, now that you've gone area, what do you think is the future for it? Is there still a future for it? Are people still reading? Does it make sense? What?
I mean, I worry about that. I know every publisher worries about that, and the future is so interactive now. Like video games are so interactive. Um, Computers
Mm-hmm.
and iPads and iPhones, they just lock your eyeballs into these games and everything. And I'm guilty of this. I spend way too much of my time goofing off as opposed to actually writing sometimes. And that's what worries me about it. Is reading going to have the primacy? And I believe the answer is yes, for sure. I also want to
Mm-hmm.
spread the gospel, and I'm actually glad you asked me this question of reading. Being sure to give, independent entertainers a chance, independent media, independent writers, as well as the majors, reading what's coming from the major publishers or what everybody's talking about. But don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and get off the beaten path in terms of, supporting an independent artist of any type, whether I don't care if they're painting, if they're making bracelets, or if they're writing novels or anything. But just be sure to look in all sorts of places. You might be surprised at how many diamonds in the rough there are out there that you can enjoy and support.
Fabulous. That's a great way to end the show with a positive thought, positive thinking, and just encouragement for persons in the arts. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Derek, for being on Between the Lines. Keep doing what you're doing, no matter what is happening. There is a niche out there. You can carve. You have had the experience. I mean, a man who in a band, exploding building. I mean, come on. You can be resilient. Okay, nothing could come at you that you wouldn't be floating above water on. I mean, come on, you can make it. I wish you all the best. All the best. Thank you so much for being on
So
Between the Lines.
100%.